And welcome back to Imola. A big British victory here today for David Coulthard. We'll hear from David in just a few minutes' time. Damon Hill has won here twice in the past, but not today. But Damon, I'm delighted to say, joins us live now from the pits. Damon, just a bad old day at work, this one, because it must have been very, very frustrating for you.
Well, I like to be positive about it. I think we showed today that the car is a lot better, and we qualified better, and we raced better, and I think that in the future we can be fighting it closer to the front.
You were much closer to it throughout the weekend here, but what was the problem you had at the start that really threw your whole race into chaos?
Well, I was right behind Wirtz. I made a good start, and for some reason his engine went into misfire mode halfway between the start and the first corner, and he decelerated, and I went up the back of him, so I had to replace the front wing.
But after that, you showed fantastic tenacity, Damon. You really battled your way through the field. That must give you great satisfaction.
Yeah, sort of mixed satisfaction. I think we were satisfied. We needed to prove that we had a car that was competitive and was quick, you know, compared to the other cars. But, you know, we were always on a losing foot because I lost 20 seconds at the start.
At one stage, we thought you might just sneak a point, but it wasn't to be.
No, at the end, I had a problem with air pressure in the engine, so I had to come in.
OK, I think Martin Brundle's got a little question for you, Damon.
Damon, have you got any testing coming up so you can make further improvements before the next race?
Yeah, we have, and we have some more improvements from Honda to come, so things are looking good. We just need to keep the pressure on, and I think that we've proven what we said, that we're in the fight and we're getting better, and we will get there eventually.
Damon, it's Tony Jardine. How are you doing?
I'm fine, Tony.
Just a quick one. The press were reporting that you had a heart-to-heart with Jordan designer Gary Anderson before the race, and I wonder if that was amicable and if it had any results for you.
No, I'm afraid the press are working themselves up into a lather again. Nothing to report there. We're working very well as a team, and I think Gary's done a fantastic job. You know, the bits keep coming, the car keeps improving, and I'm very happy.
So just to sum it all up, Damon, no points here today, but you definitely feel you've turned some sort of corner and things are looking up.
Well, I think you cannot compare our performance this weekend with any of the races up until now, so yes.
We really appreciate you joining us, Damon. Thank you very much indeed.
Congratulations to David. Good drive, and I'm pleased for him.
Absolutely, we should have asked you that. Well done.
Okay.
OK, well, he has given his congratulations to David. And Martin, you're very much involved with David Coulthard. He really got the job done today. But what about that finish?
Well, I'm dying to hear what happened tonight. I think we're going to hear shortly, but he seemed to keep his head well under a lot of pressure there. It was good for us, wasn't it? Because it made it exciting. But a win's a win, isn't it?
And I mean, he's answered a few critics here today, isn't he?
I think he's answered all of his critics all weekend because he's been dominant around here. He's out-qualified Hakkinen in the last two races, been on pole, and really, today I think was critical for his World Championship chances. If Hakkinen had pulled further ahead today, David had got a lot of catching up, especially if Michael Schumacher's going to be so strong all through the season, which we expect him to be, of course. So it was super critical for David to get his act together, and he did.
Absolutely. OK, Martin, you want to hear what David Coulthard have to say. So do I, so do all of you out there. We're going to go down to the press conference now and hear what the winner of the San Marino Grand Prix has got to say about it. Right, I'm waiting. You're waiting. Cocking a bit of a deafening here. We can't hear it either, but don't worry, we'll sort that out downstairs in just a moment, and you will hear about it as soon as we can hear about it as well. But again, just looking at the whole championship, the overall championship, I mean, he's squeezed right up on Mika and has given every indication he could win the thing.
Well, he must know in his own mind now he can beat Mika. Mika's going to come back hard after this disappointment, and Mika's been driving really beautifully all year, hasn't he? But Michael Schumacher's just behind him, of course, and as he always will be. But let's speak for David. What would he have been saying? Let's imagine. I think he's going to be, yeah, the brake pedal was on the deck. I was pacing myself, but actually I just wanted to, you know, show Shuey the way home and just let him think he was going to win it. I don't know. What else could he have been saying?
Well, I'll tell you what, we can't hear from David at the moment. We can, though, hear from Ron Dennis. And let's hope that the McLaren team boss can throw some light on what was happening at the end there.
Ron Dennis, that was a bit of a nail-biter. Was it the brakes? That's the big question.
No, we had no braking problems. We had I think, debris build-up in the oil cooling system. We couldn't clear it on the pit stop, and we were using dropping revs to get the oil temperature down. We had it pretty much in hand. I'm sure it made it interesting for everybody, and it's a bit nerve-wracking for us, but it was all in control.
It was a terrific race, though, wasn't it, Ron?
Yeah, we had it handled.
Nice one.
Thank you.
Very calm man, Ron Dennis. I'm delighted to say I believe we've got the press conference sorted out for you now, and we can hear from the big winner here today, from David Coulthard.
Well, David, congratulations on your 4th career victory. The last time you won was in Italy. Looked like a hard fight for you today in the end.
Well, not really. I had 20-odd seconds after my last pit stop, and basically I was just trying to run a race that wasn't too hard on the brakes or the engine, and just try and maintain the gap to Michael. So I was perfectly comfortable to let that gap reduce, because I knew that I could go a little bit quicker. So the only worry in doing something like that is that if you get a problem, then you don't have so much time in hand.
Were you worried after Mika retired? I mean, did you receive information from the pits? What happened there?
No, I knew Mika had stopped, but I didn't ask why, because I didn't want to be thinking about it for the rest of the race. But obviously that's not so good for the team. But nonetheless, you know, I'm very, very happy to have given them a win, especially if Mika isn't able to finish as well.
Even though Michael was catching you towards the end, or you were letting him catch you, do you think if he'd caught you up, you could have pulled away again?
Yeah, I think today our car was running quicker, and I think that's shown by the fact that we were able to open such a big gap before the pit stops. And, you know, I was never going to be as quick on the last set of tyres because it was a used set rather than a new set. But I think we had enough in hand that it would be very difficult for Michael to get close to us.
Well done, David.
Thank you.
Well, Michael, you were second last year here and second today. Even though you were pushing it towards the end, did you ever think it was going to be possible?
No, as David said, I mean, it was very obvious that he was just cruising and driving it home. I was pushing, but you never know. I mean, I don't want to give anything away until the checkered flag falls down, and that's what I did. But there wasn't anything to do.
You seem to have given a good result for the Ferrari fans here with Eddie on the podium. Do you think this is going to be a common occurrence?
I mean, there should be no reason why we shouldn't be consistently up on the podium. I'd rather be in the middle than on the outside. I hope we're going to be able to do that fairly soon. Otherwise, obviously, we did something good for the expectations of the tifosis, which I'm quite glad, but I wish to be done better. But maybe, as I said, we do that soon.
Michael, well done. Well, Eddie, you probably had the hardest fight out of all three of you today with Jacques. Did you think you were going to get here in the end?
Yeah, it was after the first stop. I was able to pull away from him quite quickly and built up a large gap, and then I made a mistake in the first chicane. Lost 4 seconds, 1 lap, and of course then Jack was right with me again, and we just decided to come in a bit early because I was coming up, I think it was hill, and I thought it's better to pull into the pits and refuel, and we got a great stop, got out ahead of him, and I was able to maintain the gap. And then there was some traffic and someone threw oil down, and I'd backed off for that just to be cautious, and it wasn't. I knew he could maybe catch me, but there was very little chance of him coming past because it was quite low on downforce, so our straight line speed was pretty good.
What happened at the start? Because he seemed to get around the outside of you.
No, he just picked me off the line. I just lit the rear tyres up, same as in Argentina. I just couldn't put any power down and sat there spinning wheels while everyone drove past me, but managed to get back up to 5th, and then obviously when Mika retired, it was moving me up to 4th, and then I overtook Jack for 3rd.
Good result politically, really. A couple of Ferrari drivers on the podium, and the big winner, David Coulthard, in the McLaren for Britain. They're playing it cool there, Martin, saying there was no problem, really. Are they serious?
It's quite funny, isn't it? Because they're talking to the world feed there, but they're actually talking to each other. And David choosing to ignore the fact that he lost a lot of time towards the end of the race and was clearly nursing some kind of problem. Ron Dennis has already told us there was a bit of a drama going on, but he did feel comfortable that he had it ace. But I'm sure they wouldn't have let Michael get that close unless they really, really had to. But David giving it full throttle out of the last corner, look, and really enjoying himself, and goes over. Traditionally, you go over and you shake your fist at your own boys on the pit wall, and Sherry there taking the 2nd place, of course.
Tony, how much delight will there be in that McLaren camp that they've not only beaten Ferrari, they've beaten them on their home ground?
I think it'll be mixed, because Ron is a perfectionist, and you know the detail that's gone into those cars. He was trying to make them bulletproof at the beginning of the year. I think Marty would agree with me. I mean, it's like going into a science lab when you go into their place. So there'll be a major investigation into why Mika Häkkinen lost his 4th gear, and they'll go through every last little piece on that. But on the other hand, it's really good to stuff Ferrari here. I mean, the Ferrari jinx has not been broken. They haven't won here since 1983, since Tombe. I mean, there's been a string of second places by Schumacher, and it's only the brilliance of Schumacher that's got them there. So it's not a good track for them.
Right, thank you very much for the moment, gentlemen. We have a lot more to talk about here, and well, 200,000 we said we're here, and the roads are a bit windy around this place. There'll be no quick getaways from there, and we're not going to leave you just yet either. There's a lot more for us to talk about. And welcome back to Imola. We've seen an excellent and a very, very exciting victory for Britain's David Coulthard here in the San Marino Grand Prix. But Martin, I think you've got a point you want to make, and when we were talking about this McLaren dominance, but Schumacher's hanging on, isn't he? Hanging on.
Well, that's right. We've had 3 races out of 4 where the McLarens have been on the front of the grid by themselves, and a great dominance. But Michael Schumacher is the equivalent of 1 second place behind them only, with the shunt with David Coulthard in Argentina, and then Mika's mechanical problem here today. So Schumi, as ever, is just there.
Yeah, Tony, we spoke to Damon Hill, who, all things considered, had a pretty good race here today, but it was really ruined for him at the start with that coming together with Alexander Wurz.
Yeah, it definitely was a great shame, and we found out during the race, we spoke to Wurz, that he was stuck in first gear, and you can see Damon, the shrinking gap there was no way through. He knew he had to go for it at the start, and then he nerfed his front wing into the back of the wheel there of Wurz, and had to come in for a nose cone, which is very, very sad, because undoubtedly he would have been in the points today. He's had reliability, he's had these 8th places. You know, there's been a few hiccups, but they've got reliability in there, and it's now coming together very, very nicely indeed. But they have had chats, lots of chats in that team. There's been a bit of head banging going on, nothing serious, they're just geeing each other up, right. And they're motivating each other.
Martin, thoughts on Damon?
It's tough for him, isn't it? I mean, he's putting on a brave face. He did a very good job all weekend, but 4 races in, 0 points for the team. That's tough. At least I think they can probably see a little light at the end of the tunnel, and they need to.
Just going back to McLaren, they haven't had too many mechanical failures, have they, this season? I don't think they've had any, but we saw it when Michael Schumacher breezed past Mika Häkkinen, that things weren't going well for the championship favourite. Yeah,
it's so unusual, isn't it, lately, to see a McLaren having a problem of any description, and Mika there, when you've got a sequential gearbox, as all these cars have, you can't then pass through a false gear. It's not like you've got a gear lever and you can miss that gear out. You have to pass up and down all of the gears, and if you lose a gear, that's it, it's effectively over.
It's interesting, isn't it, how Häkkinen has been the dominant force in McLaren, but they come here and David Coulthard is quicker on Friday, on Saturday and today. How does that happen?
Well, it happened in Argentina, don't forget. David was on the pole and had the legs on Mika, which is a tragedy. Then he didn't go on to win the race and make it stick. And I think David learned a lot from everything that happened around him in Argentina. But, you know, drivers do have a speciality at some circuits. The layout of the track suits them a little bit better or whatever, you know. And Mika's looked a bit ragged. David's looked very calm around here. But in Brazil, Mika blew David's doors off.
Good. Okay. I think we're going to have a little word now, shall we, with Jacques Villeneuve, putting the Williams point of view. A decent race for Williams here, and he's talking to Louise.
A tough race, Jacques. How was it for you?
Oh, it was tough. It was, you know, qualifying lap after qualifying lap against Eddie. We could run a little bit quicker during the race, but then every time we were losing a lot of time in the pit stop, and I don't know why.
You were pushing Irvine very hard at the finish. Do you think you could catch him?
Well, I was hoping to put enough pressure on him so he would make a mistake, but you know, he had his car well sussed out, and you know, both him and Michael were very quick, so their car's working well, and you know, it wasn't enough to make him do a mistake.
But an encouraging result for Williams, nonetheless. Both cars aiming the points.
Oh, great. Little points, though.
Didn't look too chuffed about it, did he? But encouraging, was it, for Williams?
I think it's got to be, because they went away and tested in secret down at Jerez, and they worked on the rear suspension. They've had an oversteering car all year, and it's a bit of a pig, to be honest. It's entertaining for us to watch it sliding all over the place. But that's very un-Williams-like, so they've been really working very, very hard at this. And the interesting thing here is that the battle that he's had today with Irvine, between Villeneuve and Irvine, I mean, they used to be great mates when they were racing together in Japan, but they've had lots of war of words. And if you remember in Jerez last year, there was an incident where Irvine ran in front of Villeneuve, and then Villeneuve lost his cool and ran down the pit lane. It's carried on since then. And even Villeneuve's been saying, oh, well, this column he's doing with the Daily Mail is just for entertainment, you know, it's just to have a go at us. But he doesn't really mean it. He does.
I know Frank Williams is watching ITV back at home, and Frank, we look forward to seeing you in Spain in a couple of weeks' time. Hope you've enjoyed the coverage. Right then, Martin, David Coulthard, got a bit of in-car of David Coulthard that we didn't see too much of during the race, but just shows really. You tell us what it does show. Here we go.
Well, he's coming out of Piratella down the hill, and really he's able to place the car pretty much anywhere he wants, isn't he, really? And look, he turns in once, he doesn't have to barely correct the car. And that's the sign. When you see how much movement there is on the steering wheel, every time the car moves, they have to react, and it's very direct, of course, the steering on a Formula One car. And you can really see the drivers where the car's set up well, and they're confident because they've got less movement in the wheel. When the car's not working, you're having to correct it all the time, and you're working overtime.
Smooth performance from Coulthard. Let's have a word with Ross Brawn. He'll be putting the Ferrari point of view. Two men right up there on the podium, of course.
Ross Brawn so near and yet so far.
Yeah, I mean, it did look as though Coulthard was taking it very easy, and Michael pushed for a while, but it was close, but not close enough.
The temperatures obviously were the problem for Coulthard. Ron Dennis has just told us that. But Michael really pushed very, very hard in the closing stages. Do you think it might be possible?
I really don't know what margin McLaren had, so they obviously ran at the pace they needed to win the race, so I can't judge. But it flattered a little bit because obviously they went in normal conditions, so we've got to work hard.
Last two races, you've really taken the fight to McLaren. Does it get better from here for Ferrari?
I think Barcelona actually is going to be quite difficult, but because of the nature of the track. But then Monaco, it's a classic Schumacher circuit, so that should put it back into our court.
Thanks a lot, Ross.
There's a warning that they still can't win here. Okay, let's have a word with Jean Alesi. Fighting performance from him that just crept him up there in his Sauber into 6th place.
Okay. What kind of a race was it for you today, Jean?
For me, it was difficult to start so far, and that's why after the qualifying I was a little bit unhappy, because the team has to understand to support me a little bit like that I will be able to make a better point. But I'm extremely happy for Sauber because they are doing a fantastic job. The reliability of the car is perfect. When we are doing the pit stop, there is no problem, and I'm just happy to bring some points to the team.
But sadly, more problems for Johnny Herbert. Here we are then, just confirmation of the result. The 1, 2, 3, Coulthard, Michael Schumacher and Irvine. Villeneuve and Frentzen in the Williams, and Alesi in 6th place, just the 1 point for him. And again, the Drivers' Championship. It's squeezed up. Coulthard just 3 points behind his teammate, Mika Häkkinen, after those 4 rounds. Michael Schumacher hanging in there. Well done, Eddie Irvine, still in 4th. The constructors, McLaren, Mercedes heading towards the half-century. Ferrari on 31 points and Williams up to 13. Final conclusions, gentlemen. You first of all, Martin Brundle.
Well, I think a lot of Ross Brawn mentioned there that they're expecting Barcelona to suit the McLarens very well, but look out for Monaco, and I think that's a key point. The Häkkinen's good around Monaco. I think David's strong there, but Michael Schumacher is particularly good around there, so they need a good margin coming out of Barcelona.
Tony?
Ferrari have got more up their sleeve. Schumacher said before he came here, if we get everything that we want, we might be in with a chance. They didn't get their new vertical exhaust and a few other little bits that hadn't worked in the long test. So Ferrari could still be there or thereabouts in Barcelona. It's going to be great.
Okay, thank you both. Let me just remind you what's coming up later today. We will have more reaction to today's race in our highlights programme at 11:05 tonight here on ITV. More reaction, more analysis, and we'll hear from more of the drivers in that. And as we've been saying, we go to Barcelona in a couple of weeks' time. Qualifying show live at 11:40 on the Saturday. Murray and Martin with that extra special show, F1 special, at 4:15 on Saturday afternoon. And then on Sunday, May the 10th, the Spanish Grand Prix live at 12:20. And the highlights at the same time at 11. 1:04.05. Well, David Coulthard really has been given the treatment since he moved over for Mika Hakkinen in Australia. Just about every aspect, really, of his driving skills and his personality have been scrutinised. But he's given his answer here in great style. And David Coulthard has proved beyond all doubt that he can be world champion this year. Thank you for your company. Bye-bye for now.